our favorite people on this show is saying, hey, Texas has to feel really bad because you have your arch rival, Oklahoma, in the college football playoff. Then you also have Texas Tech, your former Big 12 rival, in the college football playoff. And then hearing it in the break, our next guest, Noah Noah Gross, said, hey, don't forget about the Mean Green. He's wearing a green tie, not for the Mean Green, but the boys over in Denton could make it another sting there for this Texas team. Noah, number one, first of all, thank you for joining us. And I want to continue that conversation. How do Texans feel, especially Longhorns fans, about just their neighbors enjoying so much success and them with the 9-3 record possibly being left out?
I think it was like right around when SEC play was starting, gentlemen, where I started to hear murmurs. I think maybe before the OU game too, because at that point Tech was already really good. A&M had already beaten Notre Dame, and OU came into that game, I think, unbeaten as well, and they were playing outstanding football. So they were like 3, 4, 5 or something like that,
right?
Or like 5, 6, 7, all ahead of Texas and unbeaten. And there's different levels. Like I talked to former players who are like, I respect Oklahoma, like that's like a good old-fashioned rivalry, but like I hate Texas A&M. And for now, you have some bragging rights over the Aggies, but for all three of those to get in, I mean, in North Texas too, I mean, what's happening in this state? It does sting. So people have been upset for a while, and it looks like that's the way things are kind of trending for this team. They're going to be upset watching the CFP.
I feel like there's no one in the state of Texas that's more upset that the Longhorns are on the outside looking in than Steve Sarkisian, and he's been doing all of his politicking and everything. But I mean, it does beg the question: should they be in? Because I know we talk about with the committee, they value strength of schedule, they value the eye test, they value the strength of record, and they do have the 8th hardest strength of schedule. Noah.
Yeah, I actually do think they should be in, or at least considered for it, higher than 13. And at some point, you have to draw the line, right? Because if you play, say they scheduled Oregon or Indiana as well in the non-conference, and then like another really good team as well, and they had like 4 or 5 losses, but they have all these good wins. Yeah, you got to draw the line somewhere. But if the line is them with 3 losses, and then BYU with 1, or Notre Dame with 2, or Miami with 2, I'm taking that Texas team, because at some point you just have to look at, okay, it's 12 teams. And first of all, I want to say this: I don't feel bad for Texas, because when this field moved to 12 teams, it's like, all right, if you don't make it now, it's on you. Yeah, there'll be some disagreements, but at some point, it's not 4 teams anymore. You can afford 1 or 2 losses and still make it. They've had a hard schedule, but I don't feel bad for them. With that being said, as you evaluate things here, the BYU season does not scream like they deserve to make a college football playoff. They should be evaluated like a group of 5 team to me. If they're like unbeaten, sure, maybe throw them in instead of like North Texas or whoever's going to make it. But you have no quality wins at that point. You kind of have to go unbeaten with a record like them, or they got rocked by Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I think that makes a difference, because I have to imagine, we talked when Texas had like 4 games left. Like, all right, if they go 3-1 in this stretch, but lose close to Georgia or A&M, could they make it in? I think if they lost close to Georgia and it was like 35-31 or something like that instead of 35-10 or whatever it was, would that make a difference now? So there's so many things to evaluate, but from a Texas perspective, there's no question they're one of the 12 best teams in the country, I would say.
Yeah, no question about it. What I find interesting about this Texas team as they move forward is the fact that I think that they're starting to get the best out of all the units, because it felt like at the beginning, obviously, it was the defense that had really come to play, and they gave Ohio State the best game that they've seen. I mean, they won by, I think, an average margin of like 31 points ever since the game against Texas. Then the special teams has kind of been the steady force of Ryan Niblett and what they were able to create in the explosive plays there in special teams. Then the offense kind of came around with Arch Manning. Do you feel like even if they don't make it in this year, I know people will roll their eyes at Texas getting the hype going into next year given the results of this year, but I would think that you have an angry, pissed off, for lack of a better term, football team who was left out of the college football playoff, who has their star quarterback and everybody gelling together. Would this make them even more dangerous going into a bowl this year and then going into next year?
Yeah, I've started to hear some things that there might not be as much retention for this Texas team because there's so much talent on this squad as well, and things did not go well go as well as everyone had thought, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You think about the year Ryan Wingo had at receiver his freshman year. How good was he? And then it didn't totally have that leap in year two. DeAndre Moore talked about winning the Biletnikoff this past year, and he did not have the year he wanted. Injuries played a part in that. The running back room was a disappointment as a whole. Trey Wisner was great as of late, but they're bringing in a couple more guys, have some youth in that room. There's just too many mouths to feed. C.J. Baxter as well, who was expected, I thought he was going to be the lead back this year. He didn't do a lot. So it could be interesting to see how the portal goes down for this Texas team. But I did say to one of my coworkers the other day, I was looking down our office, and I was like, is Texas going to be the preseason #1 team again next year? And I don't think they're going to be, because I think people learn their lesson, and they don't want to make that mistake 2 years in a row. But in Ohio State will probably have Julian Sayin back and everything. So I think they'll be #1. But Texas, like you said, Arch Manning played so much better as of late.
Yeah.
Steve Sarkisian said the other day at the signing day press conference, which they let go very long. It was an hour-long press conference. Wow. They were like almost asking for more questions from the press. He said, I feel pretty good with a smile and a laugh about Arch Manning coming back for next year. So they expect Arch back. That quarterback room could look a little bit different. Matthew Caldwell, the veteran, won't be there as well. But then there's 3 guys coming in, and I know this is kind of big picture stuff, but you have Trey Owens, who's been here for 2 years, who seems like he's buried on the depth chart. KJ Lacey, a freshman this year, who won't start next year if Arch is back. And then Diabell, a freshman coming in, who's like the 2nd or 3rd highest rated recruit quarterback in the country.
Right.
So that might change some things as well. So I think there's going to be more turnover than people expect with this Texas team heading into next year. But yeah, with a healthy Arch, another year under his belt, this is going to be a dangerous team next year.
So we'll go back to the resume comparison, because I feel like that's what Sark's been doing about his strength of schedule. And if it does come down to Miami and Texas for the last 2 spots, I mean, you still think it does go to Texas?
I don't think Texas will get in. No, I think Texas should get in. But Texas, at the press conference, Steve Sarkisian seemed to, I don't know if acceptance is the right word or realization, but like a reality that he's like, they're on the outside looking in, and he expects them to be in a bowl game. He didn't come out and say that, but that was generally the tone I think he was giving off.
I think, you know what this team reminds me of right now? And it goes back to another controversy a few years ago about Florida State and the 13-0 season and being left out of the 14 playoff. And then because you said that, I believe it was you or Gerhard said, this team's going to be angry in the bowl game. I could see a 66-3 type scenario where Georgia just absolutely blew out Florida State, and that'd be Texas, and then go into the next season as preseason, top 5. I mean, I don't see that too far out of the realm of possibility.
This bowl game for Texas, if they get in, it will be interesting. Sark didn't seem to be worried about opt-outs at all, and it'll be interesting because they're the only team that's been in the playoffs the last 2 years. So, this is a team that has that on their resume, and then was the preseason #1 team in the country. So to them in a bowl game, it can go one of 2 ways. You can be really ticked off and be like, let's beat the you-know-what out of Michigan, presumably. That's what, everyone I think is projecting. Or all these guys are going to leave, get ready for the NFL draft. It could be interesting there, where Michigan, they're going to have Bryce Underwood if that's who they play and everything. So, the bowl game should be interesting, but Sark didn't seem to be worried about that at all. He's like, I think our culture, which is largely eyewash, but he's like, I think our culture is such that like these guys want one more game with each other, and they also want one more game to put on tape for whether it's another school or the NFL as well. So he doesn't seem to be worried about that, and it could be like that where they're ticked off that they did not make the playoff. For
sure. Speaking of one more game, I wanted to ask you something. This is actually Patrick's idea, so I'm just going to ask you what he had here in our rundown. The Vanderbilt Commodores.
He's already shaking his head.
No. I wasn't going to needle you about a certain turtle wearing mascot. I was going more towards something that was really interesting that was proposed this past week, and Clark Lee was out there and beating the drum of, we want to play a 13th game. We want to play a 13th game. Some people floated out there to have a game against Miami. Obviously, they've already played Texas head-to-head. I think another one. Who's the other possibility of playing BYU as well? What did you make of all that? How did that land for you? And Does it, in your opinion, lend to the credence of maybe just throwing away all these conference championship games and basically making this week a play-in week for teams like Texas and others?
Man, it is. I don't like that we have to have that conversation about throwing away conference championship games. The way things are going are very sad. I mean, every year there's a couple, either ADs talking about coaches or coaches talking about other coaches being like, all these great coaches are going to leave because of the way things are going. And it was Kansas State recently, and Steve Sarkisian never really shies away from these big picture questions. He will get angry at you for asking some of them, but often he will give you a good answer. And this week, on signing day when we spoke with him, he was kind of like, there's just no governing body. Like, you don't know who's controlling things. There has to be somebody that like says yes and no. It's like just too wild west. And he always just like adapt or die. So anything you ask him with that, he's just like, well, you have to accept what it is and like move forward with it. So he was kind of expressing like the craziness of just the world we're living in college sports right now. So it does feel like that. But for this Vanderbilt stuff, they got to get a grip, man. I'm done with this Commodores team. Clearly, they're like drunk on success, and they're like, I don't know if this is ever going to be this good again. Like, we just got to do everything we can. But like, it was fun for a while. But like, I'm done listening to Pavia and Clark Lee just wax poetic about how great their team is. And yeah, had a couple good games, but like, I'm done. The 13th game nonsense, I'm out on that.
There's something in common between you and some other people that don't like Diego Pavia, and that's you and those other people cover/like teams that are orange.
Oh,
well, no, I want to be clear. I do like Pavia.
You like Pavia.
As a short guy, I have to stand with all other
short
athletes. And yeah, short king, and I love the way he plays, the swagger, the energy, all that. But this stuff about, trying to get them in the playoff by any means necessary, just let it happen, man. You didn't make it. If you had a big non-conference win, like if they scheduled a Big Ten team that's like not near the bottom or something like that, or a Big 12 team, maybe they'd have a better argument. But
like a Michigan,
couple losses their couple losses are going to keep them out for that reason as well. So I do like him, but enough with this CFP nonsense.
Last question about Vanderbilt. Do you think Pavia should win the Heisman?
I'm a Mendoza head. I'm a Fernando Mendoza guy. I that definitely may be in part because I've seen him do a couple interviews, and the man just crushes interviews. He's like so genuine, and I'm a sucker for a good soundbite. Like, you can totally win me over if you're a bad player, but you give a good soundbite. Heisman vote right there.
Jameis Winston.
Just kidding. Yeah, just kidding. I actually don't have a Heisman vote, but Mendoza's leadership and what he's done for that program. Indiana's my national championship pick. I'm a Mendoza believer, and I think they've had to do a little more this season than the Ohio State team. Pavia's outstanding. Like I said, I do not hate him, but I would go Mendoza.